Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll be sharing a very stylish wooden boursu bag recipe. It's incredibly easy to make. Our pattern consists of only single crochet. Look, we'll knit it together and prepare it. I want to show you the base. First, we'll create a flat rectangular base. We'll raise the bag using only single crochet and insert the wooden boursu. Look, I didn't put the aces inside the bag. I plan to use it this way, but you can also sew the aces on if you like. After sewing your aces, you can place them directly on your burrs, close the screws and finish your bag. It's a truly elegant design. I used raffia and sequin thread together here. Look, the texture is beautiful. I put together some colors that complement each other, but you can use any colors you like. It doesn't have to be a wooden burse like this. You can also use different burses. I'd like to show you the other color right now. I'll tell you the differences here too. I used one ball of yarn. Here I used one ball of sequins. Here I used two balls of sequins, but I'm using very little of the second ball. The only difference here is that I used a smaller crochet hook, creating a tighter weave. Here I used a slightly larger crochet hook, creating a slightly looser weave, so the numbers are exactly the same. Knit a little looser. You can see by the sparseness of the sequins here that one ball was enough. Here I combined black and smoky gray. I want to show the inside of it like this. It turned out really well. It's a bit deeper than the other one, but as I said, you can adjust the size however you like. You can play around with the size. It doesn't have to be a wooden burse like this. You can also make it with different burses. Before we move on to the recipe, I'd like to make a small request of you. You can subscribe to our channel for free. I'd be really happy if you enjoyed the video and left a comment. Let's move on to the recipe. I bought the materials I used from my bag at Maxa Knitting Boutiques. If anyone is curious, I'll include my contact information in the video description. You can check it out there. 100 grams of soft crocheted yarn will be enough for this project. We'll be using 2 skeins of this spangled yarn. I want to show you the texture up close. It's available in many different colors. If you contact us, you can see the other colors. And look, I'm going to use a wooden burlap like this. I want to open it right away. The inside is magnetic like this. There are D's on the sides. If you want to add long handles or different ones, you can easily fit them in. My wooden bursa here is 25 centimeters. We'll be using 2 balls of spun yarn. One ball will use 100 grams of yarn. Here are the materials we'll be using. I want to show you how to knit. I have a loose hand, by the way. I don't knit too tightly. I'm using a 3.75 mm crochet hook here. I've removed the end of my sequin yarn. Now I'm also removing the shelf yarn from here. I'll get an edge like this. We'll knit them together. Look. I will be giving you the numbers right now quickly. Now I have brought the 2 threads together and I am creating the first loop with a chain. This is how I created the first loop. Now let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 19, 20, 20 chains are enough for me, as I said. But if you are going to use a larger bursa or a smaller bursa, the number of chains may differ. Or if you are using different threads, you can change the number of chains because it will change in centimeters. I adjust this according to your own eye. As I said, I am making an estimated chain according to this bursa. In fact, let me show you like this. Look, I'm making a roughly eye-sized chain. Since my plate is growing, our work here will also be larger. I'm trying to adjust it so it fits the opening of the bursa. Now after chaining 20 here, I drop the last chain. I immediately slip stitch into the back dotted line of another chain and work a single crochet. I slip stitch into the next chain. I use the back dotted lines. Because my yarn is thick, I'm making a slightly rougher explanation. It might not seem very detailed to you, but as I said, the pattern is very easy, and those who know how to knit will be able to do it easily. For those who know how to knit, the number and inches are a bit important. Sometimes I want to say this. Even if we use the same yarn and the same hook size, The measurements I give may be a little less or a little more than your measurement. This will also change depending on how loosely we knit. It's important to pay attention to this. It's absolutely necessary to adjust our knitting according to the burrs and assemble it accordingly. Now let's work our single crochets all the way to the end of the row and come back. Now we've come to the end of our row. I'm working 3 single crochets into the last chain, 1 in the same space. Here are 2 into the same space, 3. I made the turn with 3 single crochets. Now I'm going to the opposite side. 2 lines are on my leftover stitch. I'm going to the opposite side and working 1 single crochet, inserting it into the base of each single crochet. We can also hide the short yarns at this stage. Now work 1 single crochet into each stitch until the end of the row. I've reached the end of my row. I'm working 2 single crochets into the last stitch. I already started with 1. If you like, you can make your ends and beginnings more visible by slipping, or you can insert a hook into the last single crochet you knit so you can see your ends and beginnings more clearly. You can either work in a spiral or slip stitch. Since it's a sequin stitch, we'll also be using a reverse stitch. Look, it's exactly the same in both places. I think so too. I'll look at it this way. It's been a while since I knitted this bag. I slipped, look, it's almost unnoticeable. I slipped and tied it off. And let's do it like this. If we're going to do a slip stitch, you know there are 2 ways to do it. Either we knit 2 single crochets at the end and knit completely in a spiral, which is how I explained it in the video if I remember correctly, or we knit by slipping. How do we do the slip stitch? You'll join it by slipping. After knitting 1 single crochet at the end, we knitted 1 single crochet at the beginning of the last stitch. Now I insert the first single crochet like this. I've made a stitch, I slip it from my waiting stitch. This slip stitch gives me 1 single crochet at the beginning, 1 single crochet in the middle. You can also count single crochets by going up with a slip chain like this. Now, what we're going to do next is I'm working 3 single crochets into the first single crochet that comes up. I'm working 1 single crochet into the others. Look, I've worked 3 single crochets into the first single crochet. I'm working 1 single crochet into the others, and I want to quickly show you how to turn the corner. Now we've come to the point where the triple crochet is. There are 3 single crochets in the same chain. Now I'm working 3 single crochets into the first of the triple crochets. Like this, later I'll bring that short yarn to the front. Let's work 3 single crochets right away. 1, 2, and 3. I'm working 1 single crochet into the second stitch, 3 single crochet into the third stitch, and I'll hide that short yarn at this stage. 1, 2, 3. Now we'll work 1 single crochet into the remaining stitches until the end of the row. By the way, the yarn is a soft yarn. It's a yarn that doesn't hurt my hands at all. When the cotton yarn is included and the sequin yarn is included, it knits very easily. It adds extra softness. I want to say this, it doesn't strain the hand at all. I'm hesitant to see if the knitting is noticeable because the color is a bit darker. I'm making a rough explanation. As I said, I've shared many rectangular base recipes before. We only make single crochet rectangular bases and increase our knitting with single crochets. There's no difficulty in knitting. Let's come to the last single crochet. I've come to the end of my row. Let's say the last single crochet. Now I'm knitting 3 single crochets in the last single crochet. We started with 3 single crochets. When we finish, we knit 3 single crochets. We finish by slipping. Look, we had 1 single crochet in between on this side, but there isn't one here because why did we accept the slip point as a single crochet? I pulled out a stitch and slipped it. I'm going up with a chain, immediately 1 single crochet into the first space that comes up. Now from now on, we will make the same increase in all 4 corners by knitting 3 single crochets into the second of the 3. 3 single crochets into the second of the 3. We will repeat the same process in all 4 corners. Now 1 single crochet into the first of the 3, 3 single crochet into the second. 2, 3. By inserting 1 stitch into each of the others, we will have enlarged our knitting in this way. There are 4 increases in the corners. We have 4 trebles. Look, we finished this row by inserting 3 stitches in the second of the treble in all 4 corners. We count the slip as 1 single crochet. When we see the slip, we immediately slipped and went up with a chain. I came to the treble. Look, first of the treble, I have 1 single crochet here. I insert into this. 1 single crochet into the first of the treble, When I come to the second single crochet of the treble, I knit 3 stitches and insert 1 stitch into each of the others. I come to the second of the treble and add 3 again. 3 stitches here again. Here are 3 more. We knit the same way and finish the row. In these cases, always open your burst like this. After knitting the base, place it inside like this. If the base fits, it's like this. If the knitting fits perfectly, it's because it will open up a bit more when it rises. In other words, we've made a base that fits the burst. Look, you can see the inside. The knitting is perfectly placed in this inner frame. I finished this in 7 rows. I had knitted 8 rows here. Now 7 rows are enough. By the way, after finishing the base, I ruffled it with a steam quill. You can ruff it from both sides. You can see the back side is more sequined. My base is 22 centimeters long in row 7. The short side measures 11 centimeters. As I said, this plate is enough for me. Now we've been stitching 3 times here this second stitch. Now I'm stitching 1 stitch and then continuing with another stitch. I'll be working in a spiral pattern from now on. Look, up until now, I've always worked a slip chain. From now on, we'll make our bag deeper by working in a spiral. This color is really beautiful too. It looks fantastic. You'll be using different burrs. The burst I used here was 25 centimeters. I'll open the inside right away. Look, there are grooves on the inside. We'll use this part as our base. The bag I'm knitting here should fit perfectly into this opening. It shouldn't be too loose or too tight. Now make sure it fits comfortably. The burst you'll be using should fit inside the bag. If you've knitted a bag that's too loose, meaning it's too loose, you can decrease a few rows and gather in smaller sections. Or if it's too loose and too small, what do? If it's big, you can create pleats and fold it like this, or just one from this side. Look at double pleats like this, or pleats that meet in the middle. You can do it on both sides or on one side. If your bag is too wide by making pleats, you can gather it that way and place your scholarship in it. It doesn't have to be a wooden scholarship. You can easily place this project in metal scholarships too. I've shared many scholarship bags before. If you get stuck, I can share the links to the scholarship bag recipes I've shared before. If you leave a comment, I'll try to get back to you. This way I can get my bag a little... Look, after knitting 7 rows, I knitted rows 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. I finished 1 skein of sequins. Look, at this point, I placed my second skein of sequins. My bag is currently 12 centimeters. I'll deepen it a little and move on to placing the bursa immediately. I'll also briefly show you how to place it right away. Look, I've knitted another 3 rows here. The second skein of sequin yarn is increasing significantly. Look, it's increasing significantly from the second skein. The rack stitch also increases our yarn. If you're working with larger burrs, your yarn should be enough for you if you use it this way. Now look here, this was my ending and beginning. When I look at it this way, I'm finished here. I've knitted the last single crochet. I'm cutting the yarn just enough like this. I took it out of my stitch directly. I will insert the next single crochet and pass the yarn through the gaps like this and hide both yarns. Since it will stay inside the burst anyway, there will be no problem in passing it through the gaps like this. Now what do? Look, we are not using the plain part of our bag. We are not using the single crochet part. We will use the reverse side. I immediately turn it in the reverse side like this. I'll give the measurements in centimeters. Now, how many centimeters is the wall section? Let's tell you that right away. Let's look at it this way. We have a depth of about 15 centimeters from the edge. So this is enough for me. If you want it deeper, you can continue knitting. Your yarn will be sufficient. As I said, you can adjust the depth as you wish. Now, after finishing the bag, we'll open it like this, so that it meets the opening of our burst. Look, we need to complete the knitting by covering the opening of our burst. Now I'll iron the wall section with a steam iron. We need to iron it. Now look, from the inside, we turn the braid over from the flat side to the other side. Now we'll iron it with a steam iron and immediately move on to placing it on the burrs. Look at our wooden burrs. We'll place our braid on it. I ironed it from the inside with a steam iron. I didn't do anything. You can press it directly with a steam iron. There's no melting of the sequins or anything like that. Look, there's no problem. I pressed the iron directly on the sequins. See, nothing happened. It looks great. Now you'll get these screws next to this wooden burrs. How do I place them? First, we need to define the edge. Look, I'll lay the bag like this. I will make sure to make the edges clear according to the base. I will press both edges with my hand like this. After making this edge clear, let's press it like this. Again, make sure there's no unevenness on this side, because if you align the edges properly, your bursa will be perfectly even. But even a slight shift of a few millimeters can create such a distorted appearance that you absolutely must be careful. Let's make these edges more defined. Now we'll insert the bursa. Look at this part. We'll leave a little space around the screwed part. We'll leave a gap of a finger or two, maybe 2 or 3 centimeters, from the bag to prevent it from opening and closing. Now first, I'll bring the corners together. Look, when I screw in, I do this corner first. Then I secure this other joint, see the screwed part. After securing the 2 opposite points, it becomes easier to place this spacer. Let me show you how I did it. The logic is clear now. I'm taking it like this. The middle part is already visible. I'll leave a space in between with a few tight stitches like this. The braid that will come to this joint place using scissors like this. Look, I'm pushing it in. After you've pushed it in enough, you'll of course apply the lining. After lining, make sure to place the bursa in place. Both the fabric and your knitting will fit into this grooved section. It'll be more secure. Then I remove the screw. I'm placing it. Just use a screwdriver like this. I screw it in. It's very easy and practical. So if you have a screwdriver at home, you can use it. You can do it very easily. See, this way we've completely inserted the screw. Now, as I described, we'll finish the screwing process by placing the mesh grooved sections as I described, and then we'll have completed our bag. Finally, let's quickly share the finished look with you. I've completed our bag as I described. I want to open up the inside and show you. Look, I've completely inserted the screws. That's how the inside is finished. So, it's quite suitable for everyday use. The inside is a nice depth, but as I mentioned, you can make it deeper or less deep. You can customize the size to your liking. It's truly a stylish and beautiful piece. I hope you enjoy it and come back. I wish everyone who does this project the best of luck. Don't forget to like our video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video. Goodbye.